Hello everybody, it is March 21st, 2021, and I'm out on Allen Lake today with another motor. This one is the long-awaited JohnnyRude Junkyard Jubilee. Some of you don't know about it, but I did a write-up on the build on this motor a couple years ago on the AOMCI club website. I think it was on the current projects page. I purchased this motor in 2018 at Tomahawk from another member. It was a pre-arranged purchase. He had bought it and found out that the power head was bad and didn't want to put any more time or effort into it, money into it, and so forth. So I told him I'd give him his money back for it. I didn't sell it to him, but I would pay him what he paid for it and he wouldn't lose anything. So I took it home, and it actually would run as it was, but it was really bad. The power head was shot. I mean, it had a wrist pin bushing beat pretty much completely out of the top cylinder, and it sounded real rough when it was running, and it was real low on power. It ran with more like maybe a 6 horse, 7 horse, something like that. Definitely not like a 10 should run. So at that same meet, I also purchased, by the way, if you don't care about the story, you can fast forward through half of this. But anyway, I purchased another motor at this Tomahawk that same year. It was a 59 Johnson QD20. Bought it for parts, and it seemed to have a solid power head on it. So I went through that one, tuned it up, and put it on here, and it actually did run pretty well. The problem I had with it was leaking fuel. I don't know if it came out of the puddle drain or where it was coming from, but every time I shut the motor off, it would leave a sheen. And I'm like, well, I don't like that. I'll take it off and I'll try to figure out what's going on with it, and then maybe put it on a different motor at another time. So I swapped out to power head number 3, which was another 59 Golden Jubilee power head that I picked up for parts, and I put that one on there, tuned it up, and it ran all right. It ran as good as most of them do. I just wasn't overly impressed with it, so I was in search of a better power head. I really wanted a good one on this one, so I kept looking. I ended up buying a 58 Evinrude power head from my buddy Ron Baker, and it sat on my shelf for a couple of years. It didn't have a flywheel on it, didn't have a carburetor on it. It did have a mag plate. It still had the original coils on it. No telling whether the rest of the ignition was original or not. The original plug wires were still there. So I rebuilt the magneto on that one and put that on this motor. I took the rebuilt carburetor off that I had done for the previous 2 power heads. I rebuilt the original carb. It was for the original power head, and put that carb has been on every power head this motor has worn. This one's number 4. I did a barrel test on this thing and it ran well, so we're out giving it a try. So what this thing basically, I named it the Junkyard Jubilee because it was all put together out of spare and junk parts. It originally was a Evinrude with a Johnson power head, thusly JohnnyRude. And this logo here kind of came to me in a daydream, or I don't know what you want to call it. But I actually bought the Johnson and the 58 Johnson and 57 Evinrude script logos, both of those, and physically spliced them together to get this JohnnyRude logo on this motor. It's kind of a mishmash of everything. It's had this red, that's the original shift handle, but not the original color. It's had that on it since I got it. It had a broken steering handle, so I replaced the steering handle with one from a 1956 or 57. I believe that's a 57 AD 11 7.5 horse Johnson, as well as the tiller grip. It still has the original Evinrude lower unit under the hood. It has Johnson starter brackets on it. As you can see, it still has the 58 cylinder head on the power head. And this one seems like it's going to be okay. Other than the JohnnyRude on the hood, I did make all the rest of the decals. The Junkyard Jubilee, the 10. That's the back. That's the other side. And on the front, let's just put it back on here. Okay, back on there now. This whole thing is kind of my interpretation of what the 1958 Johnson paint scheme would have been on a breadbox Evinrude. I went with the 58 because it had a 57 steering handle and tiller grip. It's a 59. It had a 59 Johnson power head on it. Now it has a 58 Evinrude power head on it. So we've got a 57 Johnson medallion to go with this. We've got a 58 Evinrude logo to go with the power head. And then we've got Johnson is a Seahorse, and the 10 horse Evinrude is a Sport Twin. So this one's a C-Twin 10. So that pretty much is the story on this one. And I believe it is going to be happy the way it is now. So let's fire it up and give it a run across Allen. It's happy now. Over 20 miles an hour, I'll definitely take that with a 10 horse. There's reverse. Oop. I gotta adjust my idle mixture a little bit, I think. Turn the throttle up, it'll help. Okay, I'm back. I had to dial in the idle a little bit here. Alright, here's reverse. And back into forward. Alright, that'll do it on this one. You might see this one again a time or two. I'll probably try it on the Aerocraft and a couple other boats. This was my Alumacraft Model K 16-footer. This is a 24-to-1 mixed motor, and I'm running on 24-to-1 Benzoyl synthetic and 90 octane recreational gasoline. Till next time, thanks for watching. Keep your prop out of the mud.